And you also admitted to the use of fentanyl.
Yes, ma'am. I
So do you
OD'd.
have a drug problem, Mr. Tessling?
I ain't gonna say I have a drug problem, but I get easily influenced sometimes by some of the people I hang around.
We are about to watch a parole revocation hearing of a man who just can't seem to stay out of trouble. Also, we're going to see a new parole board member who maybe you haven't seen yet. But with that, let's.
All right, good morning. Committee on Parole is reconvening. We're at Lafayette Parish Jail. It's 10:24 a.m. on March 20th, 2024. Would the staff there in Lafayette please introduce yourself for the record?
Deputy Bedell.
So when I look at the record, Mr. Tessling, your failure to report, it seems that you said, and maybe this was in your preliminary hearing, you were homeless.
Yes, ma'am. I was homeless for a couple months after we had got evicted out of the apartment we was living in off of Hummingbird, and at the time I was homeless. I had started using. Well, I had been using since I had been out. I came home. I found out my father had passed away March 15th of last year. Now, in a month after my father passed away, my grandfather also passed away April 9th of last year. So that was like two close family members that passed away that was close to me. So, I ain't find this out until I got released June 30th from Faraday from Concordia Parish. Being released 12:01 midnight. My little brother had picked me up, and that's when he ran the whole situation down to me, But I still wouldn't report that same morning. I wouldn't report within the first 48 hours. 2 weeks after, I wouldn't report July 17th I went back to go do some more paperwork July 17th. That's the day of my birthday. And after that, I got hired at a few places like at the Cajun Dome. And from there, things just got kind of rough for me. I kind of lost focus. I lost focus. And
So you said you left from Concordia? Is that what you said?
yes, ma'am. I had got released from Concordia Parish June 30th of last year.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you were, is that where you did most of your time?
Yes,
Concordia?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
How much time did you serve there?
I stayed in Concordia like 8 months, I want to say.
Did you take any programs?
Yes, ma'am. I was in the RSET program in Concordia.
All right, so let's talk about the RSAT program. So did you complete that program?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And so that when you got back out of jail, you started using again.
Yes.
You got some disturbing news about family.
Yes, ma'am.
And why did you leave Louisiana?
Well, my mom had moved away from after the apartment we had got evicted out of. My mom moved back. My mom moved to Houston, and she was living out her vehicle. And so, that's why I went to Texas. I was concerned of her well-being in Houston,
So living on Hummingbird?
Yes, ma'am. The apartment on Hummingbird.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am. And so I was concerned of her well-being. So that's why I went to Houston. I went to go check on her well-being.
And where were you living at the time?
I was living at my grandma's address out here, 3021 F Mills Road. That's the address I had gave Miss Brandon. I had gave Miss Brandon Bonner. My grandma, she keeps the electric paid and stuff. For her grandkids, if we do need a place to live, she keeps the electric on and stuff back there off in Carencro, Louisiana. And but yes, ma'am, that's where I was at. And I did let Miss Brandon know that's where I was living.
And so you also admitted to the use of fentanyl.
Yes, ma'am. I OD'd.
Do you have a drug problem, Mr. Tessling?
I ain't gonna say I have a drug problem, but I get easily influenced sometimes by some of the people I hang around. But yes, ma'am. I'm gonna say I get easily. I can be easily influenced at times.
Say you're in jail now because of your drug use?
No, right now I'm in jail because I lost focus. I lost focus.
Because you started using drugs.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I think you have a drug problem. You gotta
Yes,
face
ma'am.
it. You gotta
Yes,
face
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
the RSAT program, but apparently you could benefit from some more help, it
Yes,
seems.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I could use some help. Yes, ma'am.
You have a history of revocation. You've been revoked, I think, at least 3 times.
Yes, ma'am.
It's gonna keep you from coming back to jail. Keep going back to jail.
Hold
You're,
on.
you're a 5th offender. How old are you? 30?
Yes, ma'am. I'm gonna be 31 this year.
5th felony offender. Wow. What's your goals? You
Um,
like it?
I want to get my barber's license. I want to get my CDL license. I want to start tattooing since I've been back in jail. This time I've started drawing, and I found out that I've actually have a good talent when it comes to drawing. So hopefully one day I can be working in somebody's tattoo shop or possibly own my own tattoo shop one day, and or a barber shop too. I cut hair very good, and I also want to get my CDL license. I love that's something I want to do. I want to travel the world one day.
Well,
Possibly,
good.
possibly when I get off of parole.
Well, Mr. Tessling, I think you need some help first. You're a high risk to reoffend, you're 5th felony offender, and you've got a history of revocation. You have, continued to use drugs, illegal drugs, while you're out. I think you need some help to address that issue and then go do those things that you said, that you have set goals for yourself.
Yes,
Some of
ma'am. And I also, I do want to attend NA meetings and AA meetings. Like they told me like if I attend these meetings for 6 months, I could become a sponsor. So that's something I'm willing to do too. You know,
Well, good.
being,
Try to help others.
I can
Gotta
relate.
get yourself straight first. So, Mr. Tessling, I don't think my colleagues have any questions. We are prepared to vote. Is there anything you want to say to us before we do that?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm gonna vote first. And I
Okay.
think I know where I'm going. My vote today is to revoke your parole. You've got time to, I'm gonna make the recommendation that you, be afforded the opportunity for substance abuse treatment. You got time to do that. If you're given that opportunity, I encourage you to take advantage of it because you do have a drug problem and you need to get that under control before you can be successful in life.
Yes, ma'am.
My vote today is also to revoke, based on your high risk assessment and your failed parole conditions. Mr. Freeman?
I think you have a drug problem too, and you need to get rid of it because a 5th felony offender or 6th felony offender, even for drugs, you're looking at 20 years or more. And I don't know if you saw the new laws, but you'd be doing 15 of those 20 if you got them. So you need to try to get yourself straight. We're not trying to hurt you. We're just trying to better prepare you to stay out. You don't have a 1 year left on supervision. You get off on the 25th. So my vote is to revoke also for absconding, supervision, and continued criminal activity.
Okay, Mr. Tessling, go work on yourself. Get yourself ready for release.
Yes,
Today,
ma'am.
we're going to revoke you, but we're going to give you an opportunity. Good luck to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And that concludes our business in Lafayette. Thanks for accommodating us today. We're going to sign off at 10:37.
Thank you.
I don't really have anything to add to this. Richard did find, just part of his long track record going back probation violation, bench warrants, a lot of just like petty stuff. He just can't stay out of jail. He can't stay out of prison. I'm not sure how much time he was back, and I shortened up the beginning a little bit. They went over the list of his different parole violations, but what was fifth felony offender before the age of 30. He's lucky that they're not slapping an habitual offender bill on him, or they sometimes do that a little bit later. We have seen people get 25 years, life sentences for having just 3 felonies. So it's I don't know if they changed the law recently to stop these habitual offender bills, or if he's just getting lucky, or if it's about to hit him in the face. I mean, he literally can end up. We just covered a hearing where the man was got his adjudicated a 3rd felony offender. Judge sentenced him for 25 years. The crime that got him that, though, was stealing $250 worth of stuff from a store. So it was a misdemeanor charge. Well, I don't know how they marked him as a felony. Anyways, but it was a $250 theft that he got 25 years for. So I don't know what will happen here, but it was interesting when Ms. Fernazza asked him, do you see a future for yourself? And he lit up when he spoke about being an artist and drawing, so probably get a lot of practice doing that in prison. With that, I'll let you.
Well, my oldest daughter, I was touching her and kissing her in an inappropriate way.
You've taken a number of programs while you've been in there. What sort of things have you learned in terms of how this has affected the victim in this case?
Well, by having her own father to touch her in a way like that, I guess it dramatized.
You seem to be pretty alert and pretty understanding of everything going on. You understand what we're doing here today?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you have some significant medical issues. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Could you explain in your own words how you get around? Are you able to move around at all? Can you walk?
No, sir. I had to be pushed.
What sort of things do you do all day while you're in prison?
Mostly stay in the bed, sir.
You can't get out on your own at all. You have to be pushed around. You have to be helped out.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Prejean, we've watched the videos. We have the videos, and we've observed the videos. If you could please give us your assessment of Mr. Dabney. This is obviously for a medical parole. So would you please give us your assessment of Mr. Dabney?
Mr. Dabney is correct. He's essentially a quadriplegic. He has some movement in his upper extremities, but it's extremely weak. He has no movement in his lower extremities. He is bedbound. He has a cervical myelopathy. He had an anterior fusion done many years back. It did not go well and resulted in him being essentially a quadriplegic. He's very apathetic. He doesn't get out of bed. We on occasion force him out of bed, but it takes a Hoyer lift, if you saw the video, to get him out of bed and put him in a wheelchair. Very rarely have I seen him allow them to do that. He also has a suprapubic catheter. He's got hypertension. He's got prediabetes. And because he's got that suprapubic catheter, he's prone to getting recurrent bladder infections, some of them with multi-resistant organisms that requires IV therapy. When I got here, 16 months ago, he had a stage 4 decubitus from laying in the bed so much. Over the past year now, we've just about got it completely healed with taking decubitus precautions, turning him, having him on the alternating pressure mattress and daily wound care.
Do you consider, in his medical condition, do you consider him to be a threat to society or to anyone on the outside at all?
No.
And he will require assistance for the rest of his life. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Now, I noticed in the video, there was a lift to pick him up from the bed, to put him in his chair. Is that basically required to move him around?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Except we do have a couple of real muscular guys that will sometimes, one of them in particular, I'm thinking of, he'll just come and pick him up and put him in the wheelchair. But even though I keep telling him not to do that, he's gonna end up hurting himself one time, but he's like a big bodybuilder guy. He's the only one that can do it by himself, but the rest of it takes 2 or 3 people to actually get him out the bed and mobilize.
and it's your opinion that and your recommendation that we grant him a medical parole,
Yes,
and the secretary has also signed off on that as well. It's my understanding that it's been recommended that he go to the villa. Is that the recommendation of the department?
Mr. Chairman, this is Warden Buttress. Villa is probably his best case scenario due to the nature of his conviction. There will be, limited resources on where he could stay in terms of total nursing home care because of the sex offense. So Villa would be our first option. And then from there, we would continue, searching for nursing homes that would be able to take someone like Mr. Dabney in the nature of his conviction.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Mr. Dabney, is there anything you'd like to say to the board before we vote?
No, sir.
I'll vote first. After reviewing the offender's crime and his criminal history, the length of time he served in prison, and his institutional conduct, which has been fair, the offender represents a low risk to himself or society. Based upon his medical condition, he's a quadriplegic, confined to bed, chair, needing full assistance for everything other than feeding himself. Medical assessment of the offender's condition, the diagnosis and the recommendation of Dr. Prejean, the medical director. It is my vote that we grant him a medical parole to a facility acceptable to the Department of Corrections. And I don't know if it's necessary, but if at all possible, this person would be improved to such a point that he no longer needed the medical parole, but he'd be returned to custody. So that would be my vote. Mr. Roche?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My vote is the same with the same conditions.
Mr. Freeman?
I concur.
Mr. Dabney, you've been granted medical parole today to a facility that is recommended and approved by the Department of Corrections. Good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much for your assistance today. Do we have anyone else there at? Okay, so we'll be back in just a little while.
I don't have much to add to this case, except maybe it's karma. I guess if there's any way for someone to get at least moved out of the regular facility for the crimes that he's committed, it's you could say it's this way, right? You're just passing the dollar from one place to another, but I mean, you heard his condition. He's a quadriplegic. And that's definitely, I don't know. I think you might call it karma. But Richard did find a report, but it doesn't talk about, it has nothing to do with why he's in prison. It actually has to do with the civil lawsuit that he made against the prison for different write-ups that he felt he shouldn't have received, write-ups where he was wrongfully found guilty of certain crimes. And it does seem that he won without prejudice, which is quite interesting. I didn't know if that was just interesting enough to go over those details with you or not, but I could put the link, if I remember, here in the description. So thank you, Richard. But we can go move to the next hearing.